think one of the biggest concerns we have going into this year's cotton production season is the fact that we have no deep soil moisture. And I think that's one of the things we need to consider when we start looking at planting dates and when may be the right time to plant this cotton. One of the thoughts that I have is we may want to wait till we get closer to the insurance deadline, and hopefully what we can try to do, knowing we don't have deep moisture to maintain that plant, and we're probably going to have to produce this crop completely over rainfall, is if we can go into the first week of August with a fairly small plant that's not vigorously growing, get through this dry La Nina year, then hopefully what we can do is if we can catch an August rain, we've got a plant that's already not cut out and stressed, catch that rain, and we can make a half a bale or even better than a half a bale depending upon the weather from that time up to harvest. And I think that may be our best option maybe than going into our normal early planted dryland cotton with this year, which in a lot of cases can do well. I just don't think we've got the deep soil moisture to maintain that crop throughout the growing season like we typically would have. Some of the other things that we can do, I think that we've shown that can help us from a moisture management standpoint, for guys that have been planting 3, 4, 5, 6 seed per foot, is backing off on that planting rate, especially on dry land, backing off to at least 2 seed per foot, spreading those plants out. That allow each of those individual plants to better utilize the moisture that's there, and also you're not spending as much money on that seed in a time where yields maybe be a little bit off. And so that's one way we can budget our cost and kind of cut our cost and manage this crop for this year. We've done a lot of work with seeding rates. One of the things that we've noticed is planting those lower seeding rates, we actually get more live percentage of plants up than we do when we increase the planting rate. So there's some advantages to that, both from an economical standpoint and I think really this year from a moisture management standpoint. The other real fear that I've got this year going into this year's cotton production season is the fact that we're probably going to have a lot of volunteer cotton problems. Cotton that was stripped last year, the seed that was left in the field, it was almost like we stored it in a bin under perfect conditions. We haven't had the moisture or the weather to deteriorate that seed and reduce our volunteer cotton like we did last year. We didn't have near the volunteer cotton because of the heavy snows and moisture that we had that actually destroyed and ruined a lot of that germinating seed. This year that we're going to have a lot of that seed that's almost going to be perfect. It's going to be good germinating seed, and in a lot of cases it's going to come up with the cotton crop that we have. So we're going to have to take that into consideration when we're looking at managing our cotton crop, how we're going to handle that volunteer. One of the things that we can do is the volunteer that gets up before the cotton is either planted or up is looking at products like AIM and ET to control that first flush of volunteers. Those products do extremely well. They probably work as well as anything we have out there. The real key is getting it on small volunteer cotton where it works. If a grower knows that he's got a field that, say, either had a problem harvesting and really anticipates that he's going to have a tremendous amount of volunteer, he may want to look at the Liberty Link option of cotton as one of his options of a variety to select. The Liberty Link may not be as well initially on volunteer cotton, but where we can go in there with multiple applications of Ignite, we can do a pretty good job on Roundup Ready cotton if we stay ahead of it. The key with any of this volunteer cotton is not letting it get too big. As I like to tell people, cotton that's first coming up is looking for an excuse to die. Once it gets much size on it at all, you hardly can't kill it with steel. So doing a good job of managing it. The real key that we see is if we manage it before the 4-leaf stage. When we get past the 5 to 6 leaf stage, it gets almost impossible to kill. And in a lot of cases, even trying to plow it can be difficult. So if you're looking at cultivation, that's still a good option to take care of our volunteer, but we want to get in early and get that plowed out before it gets too big. AIM and ET are good products that can be used under a hood. You want to make sure that you don't get them on the cotton that's already up, but a second shot of them through the hoods, at least on our cotton that's in the middle, is another option. But all of those things, I think that's the main thing is if we know we're going to have a problem and anticipate that on fields we're going back in, is have a plan developed and in place that we can enact as those problems arise.